You might not feel it, but your car could be burning through 12 extra miles per gallon, and you wouldn't even know it. One skipped checkup, one wrong setting. That's all it takes to lose hundreds of dollars in wasted fuel, quietly, mile after mile. And here's the worst part. Most drivers never find out until it's too late. In this video, we're exposing 17 hidden reasons why your gas mileage is silently collapsing, and how to get it back before your next fill-up drains your wallet even more. At first, reason number 17, dirty oxygen sensor lies to your ECU. If your fuel economy just quietly tanked and your exhaust tips turning black, your upstream oxygen sensor may be the sneaky culprit. This tiny part, no bigger than your thumb, tells the engine how much fuel to mix with air every second. But once it gets coated in oil, soot, or coolant vapor, its signal slows down or flatlines. The engine doesn't know it's been lied to. It just sees a lean reading and dumps in more fuel to compensate. Over time, that fake rich mix can rob you of 10 to 40% of your MPG, especially in stop-and-go traffic where that sensor works hardest. One Elantra owner literally watched their economy fall from 30 to 15 miles per gallon in a week. And it gets worse. Extra fuel can overheat your catalytic converter, foul your spark plugs, and wash down the cylinder walls. Replacing the upstream sensor, ideally with the OEM-rated one, usually costs under $200 and takes less than an hour. But if the fuel's getting there and your MPG is still tanking, maybe the real problem is what happens next. Reason number 16, overfilled fuel tank. You know that little click when the fuel pump stops? That's your car saying, "I'm full." Ignore it. Keep squeezing to round up the price, and you're not gaining range. You're flooding a system designed for vapor with raw gasoline. That system is your evap canister. It's filled with charcoal that stores fuel vapor, not liquid. When you top off, liquid gas travels up the vent line and saturates that charcoal. Once soaked, the canister can't do its job. The engine starts pulling in extra fuel during normal purge cycles. Fuel it didn't ask for. Fuel that burns rich and wastes mileage. Drivers often don't connect the dots, but a sudden 5 to 10 MPG drop right after a fill-up, strong smell of gas around the rear wheel, long crank on restart, all signs your evap is flooded. The fix starts with behavior. Stop topping off. If damage is done, a replacement canister runs around $500. Pricey, yes, but you'll earn it back in saved fuel, longer oil life, and a car that stops leaking vapor and money into thin air. Reason number 15, thermostat stuck open. If your car runs cold even after 20 minutes on the highway, your thermostat might be stuck open. That means coolant flows through the radiator non-stop, and the engine never hits its ideal 195 to 205 degree Fahrenheit range. Without reaching that sweet spot, your car stays in warm-up mode, burning extra fuel mile after mile. Instead of switching to a clean, lean air fuel mix, the engine keeps enriching it, sometimes 5 to 15% richer than normal. It's like drinking from a leaky cup. Fuel goes in, but power doesn't fully follow. On top of that, the catalytic converter stays too cold to clean the exhaust properly, so the engine dumps even more fuel to protect it. You might notice weak cabin heat, a P0128 code, or the temp gauge never climbing past the bottom third. Replacing the thermostat is usually simple and cheap, often under $100 for DIY. Just make sure to bleed the air and stick with the right temperature rating. Drivers who fix it often gain back 2 to 8 miles per gallon and notice smoother shifting, warmer heat, and cleaner exhaust. Before we move on, tap that subscribe button. This channel's your shortcut to keeping more money in the tank and your car running like it actually wants to. Reason number 14, locked cooling fan or compressor. You might never see a warning light, but a seized cooling fan clutch or stuck AC relay can quietly drain gas mileage like a hole in your tank. These are supposed to be part-time helpers, only kicking in when needed. But when they fail, they stay on full time, forcing your engine to spin heavy parts it shouldn't. That constant drag doesn't just waste fuel. It adds load, makes your engine run colder, and causes the ECU to dump in more fuel to compensate. On a mid-sized truck, a locked fan can rob 6 to 8 horsepower just cruising. A stuck AC compressor, that can spike fuel use by 12 to 17%, especially in city driving. The giveaway? That loud whoosh after startup, or a compressor that never shuts off, even when AC is turned off. Both problems are fixable in your driveway for under $100. But the payoff? A quieter ride, smoother engine, and up to 5 mpg reclaimed, just by freeing your engine from its invisible anchor. The engine's done fighting, but now it's the wheels that won't let go, and you might not even feel it until it's too late. Reason number 13, sticky brake calipers. When your brake caliper doesn't fully release, it quietly keeps pressure on the rotor, like driving with the brakes slightly pressed all the time. You won't always feel it, but your engine does. It needs to work harder just to keep the car moving, and that eats through fuel faster than you'd expect. The extra resistance can drop your mileage noticeably, especially around town where stops and starts are frequent. Over time, the pads and rotors wear down unevenly. Sometimes the only clue is your fuel economy getting worse, or one wheel running hotter than the rest. The fix is simple, but important. A mechanic can check if any calipers are sticking and either clean, lubricate, or replace them. It's usually the slide pins or piston getting stuck with grime or rust. If you're handy, you can spot the problem yourself by spinning each wheel when the car's lifted. If one doesn't move freely, it's worth getting looked at. Freeing up a dragging brake can bring back lost miles per gallon, and your car will feel smoother too. It's one of those hidden problems that makes a big difference once it's gone. Reason number 12, torque converter not locking. This part connects your engine to the transmission, and when it's working right, a special clutch inside it locks things together to stop energy loss. But when that clutch stops locking, fuel efficiency can take a dive. Instead of cruising efficiently, the engine keeps spinning 300 to 500 RPM higher than it should. That slip doesn't push the car forward, it just creates heat. In some cars, that can mean losing 2 to 4 miles per gallon, or more. Over time, it even cooks the transmission fluid and wears out expensive parts. You can spot it early. If you're driving steady at 50 mph and tap the brake lightly, RPM should jump. If it doesn't, the clutch likely never locked. Sometimes the fix is just a fluid flush with the right transmission fluid. Other times, it's a simple solenoid swap done without removing the whole transmission. The converter wastes fuel through slip, but the transmission can waste even more with every shift. Reason number 11, slipping automatic transmission. If your car revs high but doesn't seem to go anywhere faster, that's not just annoying, it's fuel leaking out the tailpipe. Slipping happens when the internal clutch packs in your automatic transmission can't grab properly. The engine spins, but the power doesn't make it to the wheels. That mismatch forces the engine to work harder and burn more fuel to do the same job. Even a small 300 to 600 RPM slip on the highway adds up fast. In city traffic, it's even worse. Every upshift becomes a wasteful flare of revs. Over a single commute, that's dozens of pointless accelerations your fuel tank pays for. Most drivers blame the engine or just live with it, but catching early signs like delayed shifts, rising RPM without speed, or burnt-smelling fluid can save thousands. If your converter won't lock or your transmission flares under light throttle, a scan tool reading TCC slip over 100 RPM means it's time for action. Sometimes, all it takes is correcting the fluid level, but if the damage is deeper, a $300 fluid and filter service might save you from a $5,000 rebuild. Don't wait. Slip always gets worse, never better. That was wasted power you could hear. The next one, you won't hear it at all, but your fuel tank will feel it. Reason number 10, unsealed vacuum leaks. Your engine's fuel map assumes every gulp of air comes through the throttle. Measured, honest, accounted for. But crack one brittle hose or gasket, and unmetered air sneaks in behind the scenes. That false air tricks the system into thinking it's running lean, so the injectors overcompensate, pouring in more fuel than you actually need. You won't hear alarms, maybe just a soft whistle or a wandering idle, but your scan tool might show fuel trims climbing 15 to 30%, and your wallet will definitely notice the 3 to 5 mpg drop. Even a tiny leak, a $5 breather elbow, or a cracked PCV hose can cause the ECU to fight itself all day, and that fight burns fuel. One Ford owner replaced a single hose and watched trims fall to normal and mileage jump from 14 to 19 on the next tank. The fix? Start simple. Check your hoses. Flex the elbows. If you're chasing lean codes or poor city mileage, ask your mechanic for a smoke test, not new sensors. It's a cheap test that can catch the silent thief most drivers never see coming. Seal the leak, and your mileage and engine health bounce right back. So, you've sealed the leaks. But what if the part that reads your airflow is lying too? Reason number 9. Dirty mass airflow sensor. Tucked quietly between your air filter and engine, the mass airflow sensor is your fuel map's narrator. It tells the computer how much air is coming in, so it can inject the right amount of fuel. But when that wire gets coated in oil mist, dust, or grime, it starts lying. It underreports airflow, the ECU overfuels, and your engine ends up wasting gas without making extra power. Most drivers never suspect it. There's no dashboard warning, no loud symptom, just gradually worse city mileage and sluggish throttle. One Prius owner cleaned theirs and saw highway range jump from 52 to 58 mpg. Another driver with a diesel VW picked up 6 mpg after a 5-minute clean. That's the kind of stealthy sabotage we're talking about. The fix is simple. 2 screws, a $10 spray can, and no special tools. Just unplug, spray gently, never touch, and let it dry. If your car runs rich, smells like fuel, or just doesn't pull like it used to, this could be the $15 habit that pays for itself by next week. Clean it every 20,000 miles, especially if you use oiled filters or drive in dusty areas. It's quiet prevention with real payoff. Reason number 8. Misaligned wheels. Most drivers think alignment's only a comfort issue, like when the car pulls left or the steering wheel's off center. But even a few millimeters of toe in or toe out creates constant tire scrub, turning every mile into a silent fuel leak. One lab test showed just 2.5 degrees of toe out increased fuel use by 41%. That's not a theory, that's your money, evaporating into heat and tire dust. Toe misalignment makes your tires fight each other. Camber adds pressure on the edges. Together, they grind tread like an eraser dragged sideways on paper. Over time, that adds drag you never feel but absolutely pay for, especially on the highway, where steady cruising turns that friction into lost MPG and shorter tire life. Fixing it is simple. A proper 4-wheel alignment every 12 to 15,000 miles, or after pothole hits, resets everything. Look for feathered tread edges, early coast downs, or uneven tire heat. Most shops charge under $150, and the payback can be triple that in saved gas and tires. It's a quiet tune-up for your whole chassis, one you'll feel in the smoother ride and see at the pump. You've fixed how the car rolls. Now let's talk about what happens when it burns fuel like it's still on a cold start. Reason number 7. Stuck cold coolant sensor. Sometimes your car burns extra fuel, not because anything's broken, but because it thinks it's still warming up. That's what happens when the engine coolant temperature sensor gets stuck reading cold. The sensor feeds the computer false low numbers, and the ECU holds on to its cold start fuel strategy way longer than needed, keeping the mixture rich, idle high, and MPG sinking. It's like leaving the choke on all day. You may not notice it at first, but over time, the fuel gauge starts dropping faster than usual. You'll smell unburned gas, see black tailpipe soot, or maybe even replace your oxygen sensors or catalytic converter without realizing they're just victims of a $25 liar hiding in your coolant stream. The fix? Easy and cheap. Most sensors sit near the thermostat, thread out with a deep socket, and cost less than dinner. Just make sure to get an OEM-style part, top off your coolant, and clear the codes. Some owners report a 3 to 6 mpg recovery instantly, plus smoother idle and no more rich fuel smell at stoplights. It's the kind of overlooked issue that quietly eats gas until someone points it out. Consider this your heads up. Reason number 6. Clogged catalytic converter choking flow. If your car suddenly feels sluggish on hills, gulps gas on the highway, or smells a little hot under the hood, the catalytic converter might be suffocating your engine. Over time, that honeycomb inside the converter can melt, clog, or cake with carbon, blocking exhaust from flowing out. And when exhaust can't leave freely, the engine starts fighting itself. back pressure builds up, and now your pistons are working overtime just to push spent gases out. The computer senses this struggle and adds more fuel to keep power up. It gets worse. Dirty signals from trapped gases confuse the oxygen sensors, making the system run even richer. What started as a small restriction can turn into a full-on fuel drain. To catch it early, check your mileage, note any mid-range power loss, and use a simple vacuum or back pressure test. If flow's restricted, don't bother with bottled cleaners. Replacing a clogged cat restores performance instantly, and for many drivers, fuel economy bounces back by 3 to 6 mpg the very next drive. Reason number 5, malfunctioning variable valve timing. When your cam phaser gets stuck, your engine stops adjusting like it should, and suddenly, it's using city driving fuel even on a flat highway. VVT is designed to tweak valve timing based on speed and load, helping your engine breathe smarter. But if the phaser locks into one position, it's like riding a bicycle stuck in one gear, inefficient, sluggish, and wasteful. A stuck intake cam often causes rich combustion during stop-and-go driving and sluggish response above 2,500 RPM. The engine starts fighting itself, sucking air at the wrong time, running hotter, and wasting gas to compensate. Owners of EcoBoost engines have seen 4 to 5 mpg losses when their cam phasers go bad, especially in traffic. But the fix might be simpler than it sounds. A basic solenoid flush with parts cleaner can restore movement and recover 1 to 3 mpg. If that doesn't help, a new solenoid, or, in worse cases, full phaser replacement brings the engine's efficiency back, and sometimes, even better throttle response than before. That was your engine stuck in the wrong rhythm. Now let's talk about a mistake that starts at the gas station. Reason number 4, using lower octane fuel. A lot of drivers grab the cheapest gas at the pump and move on, because if the engine doesn't knock, it must be fine, right? But modern engines are smarter than that. They're constantly listening for knock and quietly dialing back performance to protect themselves. You won't hear the ping, but your fuel range slowly shrinks. Here's what's happening. When octane is too low, the engine can't run its ideal spark timing. It fires late, power drops, and fuel economy takes a hit, especially in city driving, where loads spike more often. Some turbo engines lose 20 to 30 horsepower and around 1 to 2 mpg just from switching to regular. Over time, it adds up. The ECU pulls timing, dumps boost, and enriches the mixture, which also stresses your catalytic converter and thins your engine oil. The fix is simple. Check your filler cap or manual. If it says premium required, don't skimp. Run the right grade for a few tanks and watch your MPG and throttle response come back like clockwork. Reason number 3, oversized wheels and rooftop gear. Those big shiny wheels or that roof box might look cool, but they're quietly draining your fuel tank. Upsizing from factory wheels or leaving cargo pods on year-round adds weight, drag, and resistance, all of which make your engine work harder for every mile. Heavier wheels mean more rotational force is needed just to get rolling. That hits you hardest in stop-and-go traffic, where acceleration happens over and over again. On the highway, that bulky roof box acts like a sail, increasing drag by up to 25% and costing as much as 4 to 5 mpg on some vehicles. And wider tires? They add rolling resistance and disturb airflow around the wheel wells, which subtly boosts fuel use without you ever noticing. The fix is simple. If you've upgraded wheels, weigh them and compare to stock. Lighter forged rims and low rolling resistance tires can claw back 1 to 2 mpg. And if you're not using that roof rack, strip it off. You'll feel the difference in your fuel log. We're down to the final 3, and the last one's a real surprise. But before that, take a look at something your engine might be dragging around without even knowing it. Reason number 2, clogged or worn fuel injectors. When just one injector starts to dribble or spray unevenly, your fuel economy takes the hit. Most drivers never notice. There's no check engine light, no dashboard warning, but a dirty injector messes with combustion quietly, forcing the engine to dump in more fuel just to keep running smooth. It's like spraying WD-40 through a rusted nozzle, less mist, more waste. Injectors are built to deliver a fine, fan-shaped spray, but varnish, heat-baked carbon, or microscopic debris can shrink or distort that spray. The result? Poor atomization, sloppy combustion, and 10 to 25% more fuel used to do the same job. If your city mileage suddenly drops a few gallons per tank, but highway numbers still look okay, this could be why. Rough cold starts, one spark plug always dirtier than the others, or long-term fuel trim stuck over +10, all signs of a clog. Cleaning works. Ultrasonic service can restore MPG by 5 to 7 easily, but don't wait. Letting it drag risks your oxygen sensor, spark plugs, and even the catalytic converter. And the last one? Miss this. And your engine turns into a fuel-burning money pit. Reason number 1, worn spark plugs and coils. When plugs wear out or coils begin to break down, the spark weakens or misfires entirely. That means some of the fuel entering the cylinder goes unburned, slipping straight into the exhaust. Every missed ignition is wasted money. In fact, if just one cylinder stops firing in a 4-cylinder engine, you're losing up to 25% of your fuel right there. And the ECU doesn't just sit back. It tries to compensate by dumping even more fuel into the other cylinders. It gets worse in city driving. Low-speed takeoffs need solid combustion. A weak spark leads to hesitation, bad idle, and a rich burning engine that starts to smell like raw gas. The fix is simple and affordable. Check your plugs every 30 to 60,000 miles and replace any sketchy coils with OEM parts. A fresh spark restores power, protects your catalytic converter, and can claw back 5 to 10 mpg. Fast. Saving fuel is just the start. Now make your car feel brand new. Learn how to supercharge your AC's performance with a few clever tips in our next video. Watch now.